Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and today I'm here for Scrapbook Boutique and using some of their fabulous Christmas products to create my last in this year's series of same but different Christmas cards for 2017. And I'm going to be focusing on this stencil, which is from Echo Park, and it's called Diagonal Buffalo Plaid. And isn't it amazing? I thought I'd create some backgrounds to make all 6 cards with, and I'm using just some white smooth cardstock, and I've got my Distress Oxide inks out, and I use 2 different colours here, and one's the black soot and the other one is antique linen. Now these cards actually are more of a masculine sort of take on Christmas cards, but they certainly could be used for anybody. How cool is that design? Alright, so I made 3 different background patterns here, and there is actually a bonus card at the end, so if you stay right to the very end, you'll see it's not just 6 cards today, there's actually a 7th. Look what I've done here. I didn't clean my stencil properly, and it's quite, it's got a bit of black soot through it, so I did wash it a bit better and do my 3rd background pattern. But how I got around this, I didn't want to waste this piece of cardstock, is I just migrated my stencil background so that it covered most of those light antique linen squares, and you'll never know that it was really smudgy. I think this actually worked out really well. It gives a great pattern too. And for my final cut, I actually tried to leave a bit more of the antique linen colour showing, and this one, even though I washed my stencil, it still ended up a bit smudgy, so I set them aside to dry while I do my colouring. I've stamped out my images already, and I've used some tuxedo black ink because I'm colouring with my Copics today. And I've used a few different stamp sets. I've got the Tropical Christmas stamp set from Art Impressions, and then I did a Santa Claus, or it looks more like St. Nicholas kind of image, but I did colour him in Santa Claus colours, from a Penny Black stamp set called North Pole Treasures. And then my final Santa Claus that I coloured is from Carabelle Studio. So I have left most of the lids off to the side. I have kept the colouring fairly simple because I am making 6+1 cards today, and I have had to speed it up obviously. So I'm going to leave you with the colouring now, and I'll be back when all of this is done. Alright, so I've got some great die cut sentiments today from Penny Black. This one's from Do Not Open, and I've die cut with some red cardstock, and I actually used some self-adhesive on the back of that. The fun foam I've already die cut as well, and then I can just adhere it straight on and it's ready to use. The only thing I'm not enjoying about adding the sticky to the back of the die cut is getting out the little bits and pieces of an intricate die. It does make it a little bit harder, but there's a lot more bonuses because I can use the image straight away. I don't have to wait for it to dry. Right, so I'm going to start putting my cards together now, and I've sort of cut down my stencil pieces to fit the cards how I want them to be, and I actually did colour a second one of these Carabelle Santa Claus, but I didn't colour him all because I knew I wasn't going to be using the whole image. So I'm just adding some pop dots to the back of that, and then I can adhere my sentiment to the front just using some matte medium. I really like how this one turned out. My next card is the Santa Claus. This sentiment comes from the same Tropical Christmas set, and you can see what I mean about the antique linen. It really did muddy up in a couple of the spots there. I probably should have left it dry a little bit in between. And this is my only square card for this set of cards today. It's a small image though. My third card, this is the North Pole Treasures Santa, and I think he's really swish. I love that big scarf that he's got hanging out the back. It took me like 10 minutes to work out what colour to colour that one. And I just added the design paper to the front and popped the Santa up. I didn't actually add a sentiment to that one. I decided to make a little sandy beach for my Christmas summery Santa to stand on. So I've just used some masking paper to mask that off and added some oxide, some antique oxide ink. I've popped the design paper panel that I created with the stencil to the left, popping up the main panel, and then I can also pop up the Santa and the sentiment. It did take me a minute to work out where I wanted the sentiment on this one. Originally I was going to put it down the bottom. Changed my mind. Now I've got a sentiment from the North Pole Treasures set and just stamping it directly on my card base. And then for the big Carabelle Studio Santa, I added some adhesive to the back of him, popped him up with some fun foam. It was just easier just to use scraps of fun foam rather than using lots of pop dots. Could do either, whatever you've got. And I'm using some score tape to hold him in place, and I pop up the base sentiment and the base panel as well. So it's all the same height. And I just had to use this sentiment one more time, and it's from the Gather Around Penny Black set. I really love this sentiment. I think I've said this before. I decided to cut some modern Christmas trees from Penny Black, just with some of the scraps that were left over, to create a final card. This is a little bit more versatile. It could be, it's not necessarily a masculine design, but I'd certainly send it to a man for Christmas. And here's my bonus card. You might have noticed that I had some leftovers here. So what I've done is got a top fold card, added my own heel using my mono sand eraser to remove the extra ink that I put there. And this is the palm tree that I didn't use. I was going to put it on the crab card, and the Merry Christmas didn't fit on the card that I was planning for that as well, and the Carabelle Santas. So I thought I'd just throw these together and make a quick final card. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. All the products will be listed below. Head over to my blog to find them, or to Scrapbook Boutique. I hope you've enjoyed this series this year and have a wonderful holiday season. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.